action, action. Lights, camera, action. Let's go. Lights, camera, action, action. Pop up a little, pop up a little.
Spent a lot of time questioning whether or not we're innovative enough, but the term can be somewhat vague. It's not an active verb for most organizations. How would you put some better definition around it?
Well, one of the things Seth even talks about in his book is if you queue up enough trials, you're going to queue up failures, but at least you're going to move in the right direction down the road. But it's that fact of trying new things at all times. One of the interesting points he made is, what are you going to build, was the question he asked. And I think, for all of us in this room, we need to remind ourselves all the time, even though we work in a place where digital is brand new to a large extent, and television is old and radio is old, the reality is that what he's really saying is that there are no lines between these things anymore. That in fact the value of that asset of a tower that we have today, digital or otherwise, is that we have hundreds of thousands or millions of people wrapped around it. And that gives us permission to reach those people, to introduce them to these new things that we build. Digital things, more often than not, things that capture the attention. So I think the essence of innovation, as I appreciate it, is understanding kind of where things are headed and what my freedom is to get us there within the constraints that are in front of me, and also based on really the enviable number of people that we reach here, now, and today. That, by the way, is what sets us apart from all the digital doodads that exist outside of our sphere, right? They all, Living Social wants to be radio so bad because radio would, in a moment, make Living Social 1,000 times bigger. Right?
Very good point. So let me dig a little bit deeper with you here. There's a certain anxiety. I sort of pitched the title of this, innovation anxiety, that I think a lot of organizations have. Am I doing enough? Right. So there's a funny Portlandia video out there about being caught in a technology loop where you're literally checking every device, you're doing everything, every platform, you're tweeting, you're on Facebook, you can't stop engaging. How do you separate out qualitatively? How do you start to measure what's actually having an impact? And if you have limited resources, how to really go down a path that has some value back to your core mission?
That's a great question. I want to hear your answer to that too. My answer is that you need to make choices, obviously. And the choices, yes, need to be mission-based. The choices also need to be people-based. Because the reality is you're going to have people around you on your staff who have passions. And they're not going to have every passion. They're going to have some passions. And the way, Seth's point about go, go, go is that it has to follow the passion because there needs to be a driver. There needs to be something pushing it. The other thing I would say to that is that there's this sense that on all our digital platforms, in many cases, that we need to amplify our brand. You hear that a lot. How do we amplify our brand, amplify our brand? I think that's a mistake. Or I should say I think it's too limiting. Because ultimately, if you're in the digital space and you have access to hundreds of thousands of people by benefit of your tower, then you have the freedom to create solutions to problems they have that are congruent with their needs and your goals, right? Solutions to problems does not necessarily imply amplifying your brand. It implies solutions to problems. And that's a freedom that we have because we reach so many people that lots of other digital brands and otherwise don't.